making a video in the old style. Yay. Response video to be serious. Seriously slandering negative, whatever they call it, utilitarianism. Dopey concept anyway. And it's just very unfair. And so, yeah, also point out, I mean, Karl Popper, okay, so she's going to do this whole thing about this guy like somebody's preaching his philosophy on YouTube. I'd like to see the videos. I haven't seen a whole bunch of them. Who are you referencing? I mean, when you're going to reference people in videos or some kind of thing that's going on, then you ought to post at least one link to one of these videos that you're claiming or suggesting this evil doing, that you're providing some counter argument to. It's just kind of bogus, you know, to create your own villains to destroy. You know, let's see the real villain. Yeah, it's just bullshit. And then Conference Report did a response. They didn't even do a response video. We did another video on, you know, this subject sort of, and he's, you know, titled it, you know, "First Do No Harm." And those are the exact words I said in my video, which was kind of weird. But anyway, I made the greatest video ever on the subject, I think. I mean, it's just it's a perfect video. So I'll post a link to that. It's on the Amendum channel. And yeah, I defy somebody to take a sentence or two of that and crush one tiny piece of it. The context is perfect, the explanation, the progression of the argument. It's just a perfect video. Perfect argument is over. The subject is fucking over. Yeah.
Negative utilitarianism is a concept that has recently got a lot of play on YouTube. And
where's a lot of play? So I mean, Nicotine did a video where he said the words negative utilitarianism. I don't remember even hearing those words since then or before then. So what are you talking about?
I wanted to just introduce some background on what negative utilitarianism is, where it came from, and a strong misgiving I have about it. The term negative...
No, I mean, is that it? Is this how we're always going to play this game? Is that every time somebody brings up a subject, we all have to sit in some fucking buddy's camp? You know, you're a Poplarite, or you're a Nietzscheite, or you're a fuck thisite, or a fuck thatite. I mean, what is this bullshit of saying that every fucking concept is owned by some fucking dead shithead? I mean, fuck that crap. Argue the argument.
Utilitarianism was coined by Karl Popper in his 2-volume set, which he titled The Open Society and Its Enemies. It was published a long time ago in 1952. This is a quote from Karl Popper. I believe that there is, from the ethical point of view, no symmetry between suffering and happiness, or between pain and pleasure.
Yeah, now see, why don't you just deal with that statement and make an argument, a counter-argument, explaining how, no, that the pain and pleasure are the same thing, that they have the same character, that we exist in one state for the same amount of time as the other state, that there isn't any kind of addictive nature that's tied to everything that gives us pleasure, and that the pain is always, it's never something, it has no addictive nature, it has no illegitimate source. Its source is the nature of our existence, the nature of our creation that you keep fucking glorifying. You stupid pantheist religious nutfuck.
Was the greatest happiness principle of the utilitarians, and Kant's principle, promote other people's happiness, seems to me, at least in their formulations, fundamentally wrong.
Yeah, so again, why don't you argue the point? He's arguing it's fundamentally wrong to sit there and assume there's this goddamn equal sign. Just presume it exists. No, don't prove it exists. Don't demonstrate it logically. Don't explain how exactly, you know, the 5-minute orgasm, well, the 30-second orgasm would be worth the divorce and the, you know, the kids and the argument and the fighting and all the other bullshit that might go with it.
And this point, which is, however, not one for rational argument. In my opinion, human suffering makes a direct moral appeal for help, while there is no similar call to increase the happiness of a man who is doing well anyway. The concept of...
Yeah, and there's this difference between being comfortable, like not being afflicted, okay, being in a, not really a neutral state, but a you're comfortable. You're not oppressed by some horrible pain, but you have this ambition or desire or addiction or affection for something, because your brain has created that illusion that you need something more than just being comfortable. It's not good enough. You're bored. So talk about boredom and then talk about dying of cancer. Talk about boredom and talk about, millions of people blighted by parasites in the third world. All right, put that concept together somehow. This need to relieve our boredom, and become alcoholics and run people over in the street and do all the other crap that people goddamn do in their pursuit of their fucking goddamn stupid pleasure. Not their comfort, their pleasure.
The negative utilitarianism was foreshadowed by earlier philosophers. And it has an obvious affinity with Buddhism. At first blush, negative...
Okay, so now Poplar's got to account for Buddhism now. So that's how we play the game even further. So now we take everybody who says, you have to make a distinction between pain and pleasure, and we force them to be a Poplarite, and then we take the Poplarites and we force them to be fucking Buddhists. Fuck that shit.
Utilitarianism appears to entail mass euthanasia.
Okay, where? Can you give me a fucking quote of that one then? Where is the 9 million YouTube videos all saying, yeah, everybody should sit there and euthanize themselves? Okay, yeah, people support people dying gracefully, especially people who aren't even there anymore. Why sit there and torment souls that don't even know who they are anymore? What the fuck is that shit? But where is this conversation about how euthanizing what? Where is it? Where is it? Where do you have to quote some fucking place? What I've heard people talk about is, eliminate the risk. Okay, and if you don't have kids, then there's no fucking risk. You haven't created a fucking risk. You haven't created a fucking liability. You haven't created a goddamn addicted, needy piece of shit that's going to have to go out there and start, cutting the heads off other animals to sit there and, chew on its fucking flesh. That's what I've heard, okay? So I haven't heard euthanasia. What I've heard is a benign, I'm not going to be part of the fucking problem. If I can't fix it, I'm not going to be part of the fucking problem.
And it's sometimes portrayed here on YouTube as an appeal for mass euthanasia as well.
So this is YouTube, utilitarianism.com. So this is where we go to find the videos that are on YouTube. Is utilitarianism.com. I mean, can't you just sit there and you're going to sit there and say this crap? Why don't you just say it? With links. You're making the YouTube video.
I assume everyone finds a little bit disconcerting, at least.
Yeah, I find this bullshit cheat of a fucking argument goddamn disconcerting.
Or at least I personally do. But anyway.
Yeah, I personally do. I take it fucking personally, too. I don't like this kind of bullshit tactic.
Though this implication can be disputed by some advocates of negative utilitarianism for various reasons. Karl Popper was both a philosopher of science and a political philosopher. He's perhaps most famous for the falsification principle, a proposed methodological rule to demarcate science from non-science. Popper's negative utilitarian principle is that we should act to minimize suffering rather than maximize pleasure. Classical utilitarianism had explicitly argued for the moral symmetry of happiness and suffering.
Yeah, a moral symmetry that can't even be drawn. You can't even draw that on a piece of frickin' paper. It doesn't make any goddamn sense because every single human being has a completely preposterously different definition of that what I want word, okay? Where there's a real common definition of what sucks. We all know what fucking sucks. I mean, having cancer eat your fucking brain is fucking sucks, and everybody can say those words, okay? 99.99%. All right, but you're not going to get any 99% agreement on any goddamn thing that's good.
Aside, they supposed that increases in happiness and reduction in suffering are essentially of equal value when of equal magnitude.
Oh, yeah. So how exactly do you figure out that magnitude thing? And and if you examine the real circumstance again, what is our pleasure made out of? It's made out of moments, milliseconds sometimes, of pleasure, where the suffering can be years, decades. It can go on and on and on and just keep gnawing and chewing on you for a long, long fucking goddamn time. So how do you do this equity thing? The thing that cheats the scales, the thing that makes the scales broken is desire. We are addicted. Let's all use that fucking word. Let's put the word addiction into the fucking equation and then start talking about whether the heroin has any fucking value.
Disagreed. He believed that the practical consequences of the supposed moral symmetry were dangerous too. Philosophers should consider the fact that the greatest happiness principle can easily